been invited as an economic thinker, though not as an economist. And I was the second person to speak to. I said, that's an audience organized by the Business Line newspaper, so it was full of economic thinkers, students, professors. So I said, I want these economists to say whether there is any functioning economic theory today. So every one of them was very cagey about this question. Neither they confirmed nor they denied. Finally, Ratin Roy, who is one of the very well-known economists in Delhi, who heads that National Institute for Public Finance and Research, he said, Mr. Gurumurthy is right. There is no functioning economic theory. If anyone says there is, either he is ignorant or he is lying. We must understand this is the state of economics today, on the basis of which you are asking questions. Now, he goes on to say, a few years ago, the dismal science was being acclaimed as a way of explaining ever more forms of human behavior, from drug dealing to sumo wrestling. Everything can be unraveled by economic theories. This was the claim. Wall Street ransacked the best universities for game theorists and option modelers. On the public stage, economists were seen as more trustworthy than politicians. John McCain joked that Alan Greenspan, the then chairman of the Federal Reserve, I will devote some 5 minutes on this gentleman later. Chairman of the Federal Reserve was so indispensable that if he died, the president should prop him up and put a pair of glasses on him and put him on the chair to make a show that he is still living. That is the inevitability of the person. He was the god of money. Why I am saying this? All this makes an impact. It is etched in our mind. And that is how we view the whole world. The man is irrelevant today. And he confessed. He did not know what was happening. It was called his mea culpa before the US Congress. In the wake of the biggest calamity in the last 80 years, the reputation of economics has taken a beating. In the public mind, the arrogant profession has been humbled. Who says this? The foremost economic think tank of the world, Western world. Though economists are still at the center of public debate, their pronouncements are viewed with more skepticism than before. The profession itself is suffering from guilt and rancor. In a recent lecture, Paul Krugman, the winner of the Nobel Prize in 2008, here a pass. Dr. Jagdish Bhagwati did not get Nobel Prize. Paul Krugman, who was his disciple, got the Nobel Prize and said that he was my master. He is Paul Krugman. He got the Nobel Prize in 2008. He said that much of the past 30 years of macroeconomics was spectacularly useless at best and positively harmful at worst. We are still following the same economic theory, and the entire macroeconomic monetary theories applied in India in the last 3 years was by none other than Raghuram Rajan. Barry Eichengreen, a prominent American economic historian, said the crisis has cast into doubt much of what we knew to be economics. Now I will take you to what Alan Greenspan, who was directing the course of the economic modeling of the world, wrote in a book which he published in the year 2007, fortunately much ahead of the crisis, so it got sold. He was asked, Americans are not saving, they are spending. It is only Asians who are saving. 75% of the global savings is by Asians. 75% of the global borrowings is by America. So you can understand, if Asia does not save, America will not be able to borrow. But Greenspan said the reverse. If we don't borrow, what will they do with their savings? Have you ever seen a logic like that? Now Alan Greenspan writes in The Age of Turbulence is the book's name, in page 385. Despite their lower incomes, households, businesses in developing countries save a greater share of their income than do the households and businesses in developed countries. Developed countries have vast financial networks. that lend to consumers and businesses, more often backed by collateral, enabling a significant fraction to spend beyond their current income. This is supposed to be a virtue. To make people spend beyond their current income is a virtue. And they changed the economic theory itself from purchasing power to consumer confidence. You will purchase only if you have money. That is called purchasing power. You will purchase even if you don't have money because you have confidence. So the entire idea of consumer confidence index, which has been sold to the world, including us, is that, and that confidence is propped up by statistics. Fewer such networks exist in developing nations to entice the people to spend beyond their current income. The big theory. And why we will not spend beyond our current income, I will tell you in a minute. That makes the difference between methodological individualism, on which the Western anthropological modernity operates, and how a family-based society operates. Unless you know the difference, you can never know the difference between economic model there and economic model here. Moreover, most developing nations are still close to the bare subsistence levels that the households need to ensure against future contingencies. They seek buffer against future destitution. See the word he uses. We are saving because we want to ensure against future destitution. And since few of these countries have government safety nets adequate to protect against adversity, the only way for the households is to set money aside. And so this is an economic negative against saving countries. And this man was asked, this is sometime in May 2007, and the collapse occurs, and he was asked, what happened? You were heading this nation for 19 years. He said, Alan Greenspan admitted that what was described as an amazing mea culpa means confession. Before the US Congress in 2008, a year later, he speaks. The crisis, however, turned out to be much broader than anything I could have imagined. And those of us who had looked into the etc., the whole intellectual edifice, however, has collapsed. You heard anything in the Indian media like this being written? Honestly, in this audience, has anybody read such a sentence that Alan Greenspan said this about America, and so we should do something different? Have you ever heard? I found a flaw in the model that I perceive is the critical functioning structure that defines how the world works. That is precisely the reason I was shocked. I still do not fully understand what happened. Obviously, to that extent, I figure it, and that is why I shall change my views. You know why America collapsed? I will give you the sociological, cultural, spiritual reasons for that. 55% of the first marriages end in divorce in America in 10 years. Somebody wanted to marry another time, 67% of the second marriages end in divorce. If you had a little more desire, why not try once more? 74% of the third marriages end in divorce. 51% of the families do not have the father and the mother living together, or there is no father at all. A book was written in 1998. A fatherless America is emerging. And 41% of the babies born in America are born for unwed mothers, half of them school-going children, for whom creches are built for them to attend the school. You know what this has happened? This means there is no father to take care of, mother to take care of the children. There is no children who will take care of the father. With the result, the responsibilities of families, which normally our families handle, have gone to the government. Families have been nationalized. and government is privatized. Water supply, all the things which normally, airport, roads, this is reform. Unless you destroy the society, unless you ask the people to say that I have to take care of collectively the parents of all, and so you pay me 18% tax, and the tax is available to you to waste, and you have not funded that future obligations you have to take, and for which you are collecting money today, you are not funding it. The unfunded social security, health security obligations of America is $104 trillion. Whereas America's GDP is only $18 trillion. This is the cost of a society not following Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. So when I was talking to a group of persons in America, I asked them which is the most privatized economy in the world. They didn't know. They said maybe America, maybe some other country in the West. I said the most privatized economy is what I am going to tell you, which is in fact, this is a dialogue which I had in India in the presence of some of our political leaders who were ministers at that time, including a minister from Karnataka, with a professor from Warwick University. I asked him, which is the biggest public burden of government in the West? He said, no, Guru, you should not agitate against Indian Airlines being privatized, railways being privatized, this being privatized. Where are you standing? You must allow the government to do its work. Reform. I asked him, now you tell me, which is the biggest public burden of the government in the West? You say, Air India is a burden. It's a burden, but it is an asset also. You can sell Air India today for money. You can sell BHEL for money. You can sell Indian Railways for maybe $1 trillion, not billions, trillion. The amount of land the railways owns in India may be equal to the size of 1 or 2 countries. We don't know anything. So, these are all assets which can be sold. That is privatization. These are all burdens. You say, sir, we will carry on this burden. We will see what happens later. Because they were all criticizing, no, your banks are owned by the government. It is wrong. In 2007, in the 2008 crisis, all the banks in the West came to be owned by the government. Because that was the only way to stop the crisis. Anyway, that's a different thing. Now come to this. The biggest public burden of the government in the West is social security and health security. I asked them, can it ever be privatized in America? To privatize social security, you require families. Can you create families by law? They are a cultural evolution, products of inherent spirituality in a society. There is a social milieu, there is a social ecosystem which preserves families. You can destroy families by law. You cannot create families by law. There is one law which has come, Domestic Violence Act. There is actually a statistical study that if 2/3 of the men beat wives, 1/3 of the wives beat men also. This also, it all means who is more angry. Okay. So this anger is very normal. After some time it will cool off, then child will come, then elders will come, then neighbors will come, friends will. When they were fighting, if somebody comes, they will begin laughing to show that we are a family. This is the drama that goes on in the world. Every family undergoes it. But the law has come. If the husband misbehaves, call the policeman. The drunken, corrupt police will set right the family. And this is supposed to be a progressive law. The Indian feminists have begun celebrating it. How foolish it is to invite police and even the judge. Even the Supreme Court judges are corrupt, they say today. I don't know. But what do you think of the magistrates? The society is still not corrupt. System is corrupt. Officials are corrupt. Court is corrupt. Police is corrupt. I can tell you the Indian society is not corrupt. I'll give you two examples. There was one last ballot test which was conducted in 108 countries in the world. You go Google, you will get it, because good things about India we will never know. So the last ballot test was done in 108 countries, including India. What they will do, they will put some 25,000 rupees in a purse with a visiting card and throw it in park, throw it in railway station, throw it somewhere, and see how many people return this. You know, India rate of return was 65%. You will be surprised to know, more than Germany, equal to England and America. Have you ever heard this? There was one mobile telephone test done in Bombay, MTT. These are all available in Google. The rate of return in Bombay was 90%. Have you heard how auto rickshaw drivers return money, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, jewelries? In fact, one such person, we asked him to come and hoist the national flag on 26 January in a school. He didn't speak. We spoke about him. He returned 2.5 lakhs. He went to the commissioner officer. Somebody has left this money. He has gone into the railway and gone. I am depositing it to you. Then the local RSS people, we all went to his house. He was living in a small house with 2 girls. And the 2.5 lakhs would transformed his life. He said, sir, this is the only time it has, because I handed it over to the police, it has come in newspapers. Many times I have gone and handed over to the fellow, wherever I delivered him. This is normally what we do. And then we made him to hoist the national flag and told the 2,000 students assembled, he is your leader. We don't even know who to celebrate. It is because in America this is lost. The state has taken over the society. There is no society. This is what Western anthropological modernity means. This is being taught. This is contracting people out of tradition. This is modernity, quote unquote. Can any sociology, anthropology, history student or professor here deny what I am saying? But this is not how your society functions. This society still functions with respect for parents, elders, teachers, women. You go to nationmaster.com, a website which lists the crime rate of different nations. The country with the lowest rate of murder, dacoity, burglary, rape, India. And you know how many police stations we have? We have 6.8 lakh towns and villages. In this audience, please say how many police stations have we? When I mentioned this in a meeting in America, many people did not know. At that time, we had 12,400 police stations in 2001. Today we have 12,400. Today we have 12,800 police stations. I am from a village. I never saw police except on 2 occasions in my village. On both occasions, there was a disturbance taking place in the village because of elections. Otherwise, in my village, no police was needed. This is India. This is social capital. And I said, the entire social security burden of India is privatized not because of any government law or order or economic theory. It is on the principle of dharma. This is a functioning reality. You see it before yourself. Let us assume if all earning Indians decide to disown their responsibilities towards their parents, towards their wards, 75% of the people of India will be standing before Racecourse Road. Narendra Modi and the government will have to resign and go. Do we understand the Indian economy is intertwined with our culture, our sociology, our ethos, our traditions, and that transforms into savings habits. That is why we have been trying to promote the stock market in this country. It is not getting promoted. So, we had in 1998-99 a savings rate of 22.3%. It went up to 37.7% in 2008-9. You know what is the investment in equity? 1.5%, 1.9%, 1.6%, 1.6%. People do not invest in equities. You know why? In family-based societies, stock market does not grow. This is a macroeconomic reality. Is India alone? No. Japan. Only 9% of Japanese savings is invested in stock market. Japanese stock market, financial market is one of the most advanced, in which Japanese do not invest in the most advanced financial products. I will give you a short resume of what is Japan. In the year 1990-91, Japan was growing so fast, it was supposed to overtake America by 1996-97. And then a great crash occurs. I don't want to tell you why. And for the next one decade, Japan does not grow. It is called the last decade of Japan. In this period, demand was not growing, employment was not growing, GDP was not growing. So the Western economies began advising Japanese, you will grow only if you spend. You are not spending because you are saving. So you cut down your savings rate so that the people can spend. So Japan began cutting the interest rates from 6 to 5%. Japanese did not spend. 5 to 4, they didn't spend. 4 to 3, they didn't spend. 3 to 2, they didn't spend. 2 to 1, they didn't spend. In the year 2000, the government said, we will give you nil rate of interest. Even then, they didn't spend. In the year 2001, they said, if I have to keep your money, you have to give us money to keep your money. Even then, they didn't spend. You know what is the interest